Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and/or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome to the creepy parlor, where we delve into the dark side with an undercurrent of light-hearted fun. Our discussions will explore gothic, macabre, or creepy topics. The first Tuesday of every month, we will host a haunted happy hour where you can join us for a group conversation that focuses on ghosts, weird events, urban legends, and more. Here at the Creepy Parlor, our subject matter may be spooky, but our spirits are high. You can catch the Creepy Parlor every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on WLFE DB Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Creepy Parlor. I'm Genevieve, and I'm absolutely delighted to bring back my guest, my very dear friend Brenda from Gravestone Girls. We have a lot of really fun discussion for you this evening. Let's get her on here. Hello, my friend.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be back.
So who would have thought? You were on the show back in February. Who would have thought we'd be new best friends by now?
I know, right? It took about 6 minutes.
It really
spawned another streaming podcast, and here we are. We're planning road trips and
cemetery trips, all the good stuff.
Absolutely.
So real quick before we get really going, I want to say hi to some people. Hey, Natalie. Stephen P. Kitty Cat is here. He's listening because his paws are full, working on a knife. Excellent. My wonderful sister, Jillian. Hello, Jillian.
Hello, other new best friend.
And we have Miss Little Bit here. Hi, Little Bit.
Hi, Little Bit.
She'll make me laugh through the whole show. Let's see. And we've got Facebook user. I'm not sure who that is. It's coming up as Facebook user, but thank you. Hi. Can you see it? Can you see a name?
I can't. So I'm on my phone because my computer basically said, fuck you, about 2 minutes before I was supposed to call in.
That's why I ran the warning.
I thought I was being proactive. I'm making dinner and I'm flying around. I'm putting on lipstick. And I'm like, oh, I'll get Genevieve's going to be on at 10 minutes of 7, so I will get ready and I'll get on ahead. I turned on my computer and it booted up and it said you have no internet access. That's great. How the hell is that? What?
I think it's Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, Mercury sucks.
Yep. Hi, Mikey.
So I can see you all, but you're all this big. And if I put my glasses on, I could probably read the comments down below, but I'm gonna trust you to interpret for me this evening.
I will. I'll read them for you. We have Jack Rudo. Hello from Portland. First time listener. Excellent. Welcome.
Excellent. Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Maine?
Portland, Oregon.
Oregon. A wonderful place.
Yes, we had really insane storms here all day, all afternoon.
Oh,
so
did you?
Yeah.
We were supposed to. Nothing happened. It rained a little bit, and I think it's gotten hotter. So what will happen in the course of an hour? I just took my hair down, and within the course of the hour of this podcast, it's going to get so big, it's going to fill the frame, and you aren't going to be able to see me, and I will become Cousin It.
Excellent. We all want to be in Adams, don't we?
That is how humid it is here.
Yeah. It's pretty humid here too. And I live right by the water, so it's always humid here.
Yeah, but you got the benefit of the storm, lightning and thunder, and I got squat. I'm not even sure it was enough to water the garden.
Oh. Well, I Well, that's not the actual banner I wanted. That's our banner from our cemetery streaming, but it's got Brenda's information going along the bottom, www.gravestonegirls.com. And it's got my website, jerseyshore.ghosttours.com. So you can find both of us there as well. Jill, she's going to make me laugh the whole night.
I want to know who is that voice in your intro? Is that you or is that Jillian?
That's not me, or that's neither me nor Jillian. That is Jenna. She is fantastic. She does a lot of
nails it. She nails it. And I was trying to picture you doing it. And then I thought, this really sounds like something Jillian could pull off.
Yeah, she's great. And it's funny because when I first heard it, the first thing I thought of was Nadia from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yep, absolutely.
And when I met Jenna, she said that was one of her inspirations for it. So I was like, yes, at least
perfect.
So we got Robert here. Hi, Robert. I see Chanel. I missed Chanel.
I love that everybody's jumping in. It's fabulous. This internet thing is amazing. And some people's internet is actually working. So there you go.
I'm sorry. So let's briefly talk about cemetery streaming. Well, actually, before we do that, tell everybody what you do, because you do something really, really, really cool.
Okay.
This is awesome.
So as the name implies, Gravestone Girls, we are cemetery artists and historians. We are based in Massachusetts. We lead cemetery walks. I do public presentations about the evolution of gravestones and symbolism in cemeteries. I teach gravestone rubbing classes, not gravestone robbing. That you're going to have to learn on your own. And I also create a line of sculpted art pieces made directly from the faces of the original gravestones, using portions of the art, basically making gravestone replicas. So decorative home decor for your creepy parlor.
They're spectacular. I just gave one to my other best friend, my very best friend, for her birthday this year, and it's just they're beautiful. Jillian got 2 of them for her birthday, I think.
Excellent. Yeah, nothing says I love you like a gravestone.
Exactly. Nothing says eternal like a gravestone.
Correct. And you can be assured that if you give somebody a gift on a holiday or birthday or something, they're not going to they're not going to open 2 of them. It isn't like you get 2 sweaters or 2 scarves or no, you typically do not get 2 gravestones. And even if you do, they won't be the same because your friends are creative.
And you love them all. And you have to love them both anyway. So
correct.
I should grab mine.
Yeah, considering I don't have any to show because all of my stuff is packed in my car from the art show I did in Salem on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And everything else that's down in my lab where I spent the entire day is not complete. It's all work in process. So yeah, I have nothing. And I don't have a piece of my own hanging in my own home.
Wow.
There are times I've been a little pinched for a gift and I will have taken my own off the wall and wrapped it and given it to somebody.
Well, it's a great gift.
I'm like, oh, I can always make another one. And then yet I don't. So
I do. Yep. And one of the really cool things about your wrapping is that they're wrapped in obituaries.
Yes. Yeah, that's my own weird little touch. Turns out I'm not the only weirdo that thinks it's funny. It happened completely by accident. I sell a lot of stuff online. We have, you can shop on the website from our whole collection. And so I pack and mail a lot of stuff. And there was one day, it was a while ago at this point, the joke is that we're very green. So you get my reused, recycled boxes and newspaper. And when you shop with me at a market, you're probably going to get my grocery bags to carry your stuff home in. So we always say that it's not very pretty, but we're pretty green. So everybody saves me all of their packing material and I reuse it. Small business, saves on cost, environmentally friendly, all of that good stuff. Perfect. And I was wrapping one day. I used tissue paper on the inside to keep any ink or anything off of the piece. And then I finished it up with newspaper because it's a good solid packing material. And I finished and I taped this one up and the obituaries were on the front of it. And I went, oh, I'm just going to leave that like that.
Happy accident.
So I sent it off to see what would happen. You know, I get an email from my customer a couple of days later. She says, oh, I got my package. And I opened it and I went, newspaper? Really? Because her initial thought was, that's pretty cheap and cheesy. And then she said, and then I saw it was the obituary, and I just want you to know that I think it's genius. I'm like, yep, I am so fucking smart. It's amazing.
Well,
And ever since the final layer of packing material is the obituaries, and I'm very particular about how I fold it, and where the words, the death notice is, or where the headline from the top of the sheet obituaries is. I want you to know when you take it out of the box that is the obituary. So there's pictures and names. And one of these days, I'm sure somebody is going to contact me and go, hey, that was my great grandfather you wrapped my stuff in. I'm not sure how that's going to go, but it's public domain. So there you go. So it's fun. I mean, we have that kind of sense of humor, and we're lighthearted about a pretty serious topic. But no one will ever say I don't have fun at my job.
It is a fabulous job. And it's funny, when I got Karen's piece, I had to unwrap it because I wanted to take a look at it. And I couldn't wrap it the way that you did. I was like, oh man.
They never go back in the way they came out. No, even for me, they don't. And sometimes I worry about that when people are ordering stuff. They're not always buying for themselves. They are buying for a gift. And I'm like, do I put a stick, if you order 3 or 4 pieces, do I put a little sticky note on the outside and tell you which piece it is so you don't have to unwrap them all? Or what happens if you unwrap them all? Do you get them back together? These are first world Gravestone Girl problems.
You want to keep them, all of them. That's the general rule.
There are at this point, there's more than 200 images in the collection between magnets and the larger pieces that hang on the wall, individuals. And wait till you see the 2 I got coming up for the shop update for the next Darksome market we do in July. I've been after these for years. I finally collected them, and now I got to figure out exactly how to make them work, but I got a plan.
I don't want you to have to give away any trade secrets, but I am dying to know how you do it.
I steal them from the cemetery. I tell people that because I love to see, in a market in particular, I tell people that because I just love to see the looks on their faces. And a lot of times they're like, these are pieces of gravestones. And honestly, if you see them and you pick them up and you think that they're actually a colonial New England gravestone bit, then I must be doing a good job. So that makes me feel really good. If I can fool you into thinking that it's the real thing, then I feel pretty good about that. It is proprietary. I don't teach it. Like where I will teach you how to rub gravestones, I don't teach the casting process or particularly the collecting process. It's a touchy subject. It is certainly not for anybody that doesn't have any skill set, any background. I have an art history and restoration education. So I developed a process that I can safely take into the cemetery because I do actually make direct contact with the gravestone with the face of it to collect my image. I will tell you that it does not need any mold releases. It has no petroleums in it. It has no abrasives in it. The materials I use are meant for work with exterior stone. And we also work to secure permission from wherever we're collecting from. So
I figured you did.
I sell online. I'm in public places. I travel all over the country, and somebody at some point is going to be like, where did you get this? How did you do this? And it's happened. I oversee this cemetery. Who said you could? Well, 10 years ago, I've been working with this cemetery, and I got permission from so and so, or it's somebody that I'm on the historical committee, or I'm somehow engaged in this town that you have this piece from. how is it that you managed to do this? So I want people to know who we are and that we're safe. There's a huge controversy right now that happened in Sleepy Hollow. Did you hear that?
Yes, and I almost messaged you.
Yeah, and I actually had somebody say on another friend's page, "Oh, we know somebody that does that. I hope it wasn't. I hope it wasn't Gigi." And
Yes.
and
So
I was like, "Ah!"
just to give everybody out there some backstory, somebody, this is my take on it. Somebody did a gravestone rubbing of the Van Tassel gravestone at the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery and did some damage.
Yeah. So it was actually a casting. So they were using some kind of material, that clay-like material or some sort of material that they put on the face of the stone. I still haven't seen any updates on it. I don't. So they pinpointed this woman in Ohio that does castings, and she's got these stones in her collection. But in reading her response on her own Etsy page, it sounds like she collected them ages ago. So I don't think that it's her. I think somebody saw her stuff and did the same thing. They're like, "Oh, I wonder if it's Gravestone Girls, or I wonder if it's this person in Ohio."
Yeah.
And she is getting publicly flogged, and they haven't even said that it's her. So I don't agree with how this whole thing's going. And the way it was reported, it was so sensationalized. Someone used a caustic material, and they don't even know what happened. They don't even know what happened. And they just flew right off the handle. Did something happen? Absolutely. What was it and who did it? That is so not clear. And they are basically pillorying this poor woman that I really don't think it's her. It doesn't sound, I should say, it doesn't sound like it's her. But to be fair, when she wrote up her Etsy, on the front page of her Etsy page, she rebuts what she's been accused of. And she says, "Yeah, I do gravestone casting, and I saw other people doing it, so I do it too. So that's not right." She uses clay. She uses potter's clay, which she shouldn't be using because it does stain and it does need to be cleaned up when you're done. As well as those stones in Sleepy Hollow are made out of brownstone. They're made out of sandstone, red and brown sandstone out of the Connecticut River Valley. And they're too fragile. They are too porous to put material on the face of. They are too fragile to put pressure on to push your material in and make an impression. They are off limits. We don't work with them because they are far too fragile. You can put material on, and when you peel it off, you're peeling off, at the very least, you're peeling off those grains of sand. And at the very worst, you're going to take a whole chunk out of the stone because that's how fragile they are. So we do not work with them. And I need to follow up and see what's going on. But that's a long way to go to say, I work to make sure everybody knows who we are and that our methods are safe, as well as the places we are going and collecting. I'm working to find whoever it is that oversees it, oversees that space, and get some kind of permission from them. Sometimes it's as easy as a phone call, and other times it's taken me a year, and that's fine. Whatever it takes for you to understand that my methods are safe, I'm a professional, you're comfortable with what I'm doing, and that I am not going to do any damage to these stones. I've been asked, who do you get permission from? You get permission from the descendants? Tracking down descendants from gravestones that are 300 years old is going to be pretty tough. So I go with the next best thing. I go with the people that are appointed to oversee the care and feeding of the space. So,
and we kind of touched on that the first time you were on the show too, a little bit, how you go about doing what you do, and the permissions that you seek, and what I really respect about everything that you're doing is that you know the difference between something that is sandstone or brownstone that could possibly be damaged versus something else that you can safely get.
And it's still controversial. I've had conversations with conservators and other entities, like town cemetery people or the historic commission or whatever, and they're just like, no, you shouldn't touch them at all. I do teach gravestone rubbing. I teach a proper technique, which includes the selection, understanding how to select the best candidates to do rubbing. And I posted some pictures of a class I recently had, and I got a message from somebody on Instagram that says, hey, I love what you guys do. But you shouldn't be touching them at all, is basically what she said. She said, I'm an archaeologist and this and that, and that's great. But one summer lawnmowers and weed whackers are dangerous to gravestones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Properly executed gravestone rubbing with an education behind it, they're going to go do it anyway. Yeah. So why not teach them how to do it properly?
Yep.
Because they're going to do it. I mean, to me, it's the same equation. Telling we're not going to give birth control to kids because that's going to make them go have sex. No, they're going to have sex anyway. So you might as well teach them how to do it safely.
And learn how to rub gravestones.
And learn how to rub gravestones in the cemetery before or after you have sex.
I don't know if you can see Robert's comment here. It says that kind of leads me into a question of what is the strangest gravestone material you have made rubbings from?
That's a very specific question. We were actually having a conversation earlier today, myself and another gravestone girl, about modern gravestone materials. And there's a lot of composite stones and stuff out there that I see showing up on the landscape. I mean, you can use a gravestone rubbing technique on anything that doesn't have to be a gravestone. You really beautiful old signs or heating grates or
like in New Orleans,
embossed mailboxes or exactly. Any of that old stuff that architecturally you can use a rubbing technique to collect a lot of really beautiful stuff. It isn't limited to just gravestones.
Robert's question here, or comment, you're preserving what is still there before it gets eradicated. And that's true. You are.
It's definitely part of it. Yeah, it is definitely part of it. And that's one of the things when I talk to people about gravestone rubbing and why I teach it, it is a different kind of snapshot of a gravestone at a particular point in time. And that gravestone is going to be affected by being outside in the weather. It's going to be affected by the lawnmowers and weed whackers. It's going to be affected by vandals. Trees are going to fall on them. Biological growth is going to grow on them and obscure the faces. They're going to erode. All of these things are going to happen. And again, the key is properly executed. The onus is on the person doing it to know what they're doing. And one of the greatest misconceptions is, it's stone, it's indestructible. And it's just not true. They're just not true. There's so many different kinds of stone. There's so many different conditions. They're not indestructible. They're actually quite fragile, and it's easy to screw it up. So don't.
Please don't. And don't blame Gigi for it.
Yeah, and don't blame me for it. I mean, even organizations, there are gravestone organizations out there, and once upon a time, their founders, and many of the members were active gravestone rubbers, had great collections of stuff, taught people how to do gravestone rubbing. And now those organizations won't stand behind the process anymore. They won't teach it because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want something to happen. And somebody says, "Oh, I learned it from Gravestone Girls, and now you can come and sue me because you screwed something up." So it's touchy, but I don't care. I'm an evangelist about this. This is just nuts.
Yeah. I did manage to just quickly upload one of my favorite pieces that you have. That's the one I just bought the Karen.
Yes, the 7 Stars of Bolton, and appropriate. That gravestone. So what that is, I'll explain now that you can see it. So that when you look at an old colonial gravestone, that curved part that we're looking at here, that lunette, is called the tympanum, and it sits at the top in the middle of the stone between two little shoulders, usually two little rounded shoulders. So it's got 3 rounded lobes on the top, and the art is typically contained in that center lobe in that in the tympanum. Mm-hmm. So that is a casting of a gravestone from my ancestral burial ground in central Massachusetts. It is not my ancestor, but it is the place where all this Gravestone Girls stuff got started when I was about 5.
It's magnificent.
Only like 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's 20 years.
It is really, really magnificent. So we have a few more really good comments coming in too.
Sure.
Well, Jillian is saying that we have to stop.
Jillian wants more stuff. I know she does.
She says we got to stop saying rubbers. Natalie here is saying we used to do rubbing when I was a kid. It's beautiful art, but I love Gigi is teaching how to do it properly. So
yeah, it was such a thing. Like right up through the 70s, it was such a thing. Everybody did it. And people were going to England. And when people find out what I do, they're like, oh yeah, I rub the brasses in the churches in England or Ireland. Yeah, we all used to do it. And then there are people out there that do damage, and it ruins it for everybody else. So don't do that. Just don't do that.
It does. Lauren is asking, have you gone to cemeteries on the Cape?
I have indeed. So there's a really great website. It's called Cape Cod Gravestones. It's either .com or .net. It's done by this guy. He's probably an octogenarian by now. But he went all over the Cape to every cemetery, took pictures, made documentation, and created a website. So you can go to the website, you can drill down into mid, upper, and lower Cape, and then the towns within each one of those regions. And then within the town, the list of the cemeteries, plus, and then when you find the cemetery you want, then all the stones in that cemetery are documented in the website. Some with pictures, but I believe all of them were transcribed. So it's an awesome resource. And yes, cool. I take advantage of going down to the Cape whenever I can.
How far are you from there?
Depending on which end of the Cape you go, I'm about an hour and a half from the border, where you go over the bridge. And if you go all the way to the end to Provincetown or anywhere along the coast, those towns along the coast on the Cape, it's 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
The Cape is way bigger than I ever knew it was. I didn't start going there until I was an adult. When we went to the sea, for some reason, we went north to Maine, where it's colder. I don't understand nowadays, looking back. So I thought Cape Cod was just this little tiny place, and no, it's not. So yes, that's a way long way to go again to say that, yes, I've been to cemeteries on the Cape.
Is it that where Jaws was filmed?
I watched Jaws that night. It's not on the Cape. It's they used either Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. I can't keep the two straight, but Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard are south of Cape Cod, and by virtue of being islands, you got to take a ferry to get out there. So that shot, when I was watching it the other night after we talked, when the ferry comes in, I'm looking, going, I know that place. Which one is that? Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard. I think it's Martha's Vineyard. And there's great cemeteries on both the Cape and both Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. Some really old stuff, particularly on Nantucket.
We're going to take a really quick break because we're already at 30 minutes. We're already halfway through. I know, isn't that crazy? When we come back, we can show off some of the gravestones that we just talked about last week, if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right, give me a second here. Oh, look at that. I can put up our little, there we go. There we are. I couldn't get us back.
Excellent. I'm just going to give you a little warning. So in keeping with all of the other mechanical animal problems tonight, my phone, I still have plenty of battery, but my phone is burning hot. So it might just decide it's so hot that it shuts down. So if I all of a sudden just disappear, that's why. I think I got enough. I know I got enough juice to get through. During the break, I was like, I'm going to plug this in, just get a couple more percentage. And I picked it up and like fire, and it won't even charge because it's so hot. So just in case it all goes black, that is the reason why.
We're a mess tonight. I love it.
I seriously considered going and sitting out on the porch so that maybe my phone would cool off. But I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to take a chance.
It's going to be it'll be hot out there too. So before we get back into all of it, I just want to remind everybody to please go and check out WLFE-DB Network, and also check us out on Facebook. Like, follow, share. There's a lot of great content artists over there. We've got 3 different channels. We've got Variety Unlimited. We have the Paranormal View, and we've also got the LGBTQ Friends. So happy Pride Month, everybody. Yay! In addition to that, also check out Psychomantium 13, PBDC TV. There's awesome content artists over there as well. So whatever you're into, we got something that will entertain you. Absolutely.
Literally.
Julie, I don't know if you just caught Natalie's comment. She says, so much fun. I'm glad Gigi's back. And Julie
okay, I see the podcast happening. No, just join us in Cemetery Streaming. It's us doing exactly this for an hour the first Wednesday of every month.
Yes. Jillian says, I love when your New England accent pops out.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did I say something like pack the car or, yeah.
I don't know.
When I get lazy, I do try to pay attention to it, but sometimes I hear myself and go, oh my God, did I really just say that?
I do that with the Jersey accent too, so don't worry, you're not alone. We do. Yes, Natalie, we have gremlins in all machines tonight.
Totally.
Hey, Liz. So let's talk a little bit about cemetery streaming. What is wrong with me? First Wednesday of the month is cemetery streaming. And again, like Brenda said, it's us just rambling. We do have topics though.
We have content. And we have a very good time talking about it.
We do. I'm not sure what that was that made Dom smile, but something just made him smile. Jill says Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, it's true. There's actually a couple of R's in there, but I don't use any of them.
They're optional. It's fine.
They are totally optional.
So this past week, we talked about a really, really cool, we did our favorite local cemeteries. I talked about Rose Hill Cemetery, which is my favorite local. And Brenda had some really cool stuff. Can I show some pictures? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
Because this was my favorite. I think this was my favorite part.
Oh, I love them. Yeah, there's a damn good reason why that was your favorite part. Because they're beautiful. They're beautiful. They've recently been cleaned as well. So they are allegorical. I don't know who they are. I've never managed to get around to looking up the actual myth or biblical reference that is drawn from, but clearly, their life and death. The one standing is got her hand out to collect the lamp, the oil lamp, from the seated figure who is going, no, not ready. No, you can't have my lamp. You can't take my light. So I'm going to interpret that without any formal research as the idea of life and death, the extinguishing of the light, the darkening of the lamp. Yeah, they're beautiful. And they've just been recently cleaned. When I took that picture, they had just been recently cleaned because they were kind of sad. They're marble. And they were kind of green and mossy. And they needed a bath, and they got a great attention. It looked brand new when it was first cleaned.
Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, look at it. Looks like there's actual fabric flowing down.
Right.
It's
yeah. Everything about it. The each hair on their heads down to the fingernails and the folds in the clothes, and yeah, they are lovely, lovely, lovely. And you remember how I said I couldn't believe that I couldn't find any more modern or more recent pictures? Yeah, well, they're still all on my phone. I found them like the next day. I led a walk in Hope Cemetery, and I took pictures all over the place. Did I remember that? No. So my contribution was not my one favorite cemetery, but a bunch of my favorite local. A number of my favorite local. I think there were 4 of them in there.
You know, I mean,
I never do anything small, and I always I don't follow instructions well.
Hey, you got here today perfectly fine. So
so far, yes, correct.
Yeah, we have more. We have really cool ones coming up too. Let's see. Let me get rid of that. Get that comment. We've got, this was another one that was just mind-blowing.
Sometimes you get to the cemetery at the right time, and they don't call it the golden hour for nothing. You know, I have been in that's Hope Cemetery in Worcester, Massachusetts, so Central Mass. It is a 19th century garden cemetery. It's public. It's owned and operated by the city. And I've been in there a million times. A million.
I don't doubt that.
And anytime you go through the cemetery gate, always try to take if you go in, you always turn left. Next time you go in and turn right, or start from the back and work to the front, or because you will always see something new. And certainly what time of day you're there influences what you're going to see and how you're going to see it. I love this mausoleum. It's actually not a mausoleum because they're buried in the ground, but I love it because of the neoclassicism, the whole Greek temple thing, and I love it for its 32 columns.
32,
because I had to count, and I count them every time.
Just to make
sure they're all there. And I love it, and it's lovely. It's one of 2. There are 2 brothers that were architects. They were the Norcross brothers. And they were responsible for the design of places like the New York City Public Library, Trinity Church in Boston. I believe they had some commissions in DC. So very, very notable architects. And they had a spat at one point, and like all brothers do, and they disintegrated their partnership, and I don't know if they ever spoke to each other again, but they are buried on opposite sides of the cemetery. And the other brother, the other brother has that beehive mausoleum. That one's my favorite. And
more so than this one?
Yeah. From a structural point of view, from an architectural point of view, but the picture that you just showed of the other brother, because the light is so beautiful, and because it looks so majestic, and the shadows that the columns cast, I'm no photographer, and every now and then you get lucky, and you're there at the right time and the right angle, and you get the right picture, and you make something really beautiful. And that is it's a beautiful picture of not necessarily my most favorite mausoleum, but just a really super, super picture.
Natalie says you must come to Atlanta and visit Oakland Cemetery. You will
I have been in Oakland.
I figured.
I have been in Oakland before the whole world shut down. In 2019, I was doing the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, which are coming back this year. And I did one in November in Atlanta. And I stayed an extra day or 2. A friend let me crash at her house. And I went with every intention of going to Oakland I did it on a Sunday morning. I was probably there for 4 hours. It was fabulous to be somewhere warm in November. The
Yeah, that's great.
cemetery is spectacular. I know that the Confederate burials and the Confederate monuments that are down there are very controversial. But I love the Lion of Atlanta, and I'm so sad that he's been desecrated with graffiti, but that's a whole nother story. I was like, just give him to me. I'll take him home. I just nobody will even see him anymore. I'll just keep him for myself. But it was beautiful. It is beautiful, and they're very, very active with their programs. They have a lot of walking tours and interpretive programming, participatory programming for guests. Yeah, it was awesome. I went live from there. I'm sure if you look back in the video archives on Facebook, I went live from there a couple of times, because there's just times that pictures just don't capture it.
Yeah.
It's just not enough.
Do you keep your videos on your Facebook page? Like, just leave them
I
on?
think they're all out there. It's either on Instagram or Facebook. But I know I went live, so it should be out there. It should be out there. I almost lost my car in that cemetery.
You lost your car?
Almost got irreparably stranded. Yeah, I'm not smart. There are days that I am not smart. So I get to the cemetery and there's a parking lot outside, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to park there. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to drive around. I'm going to get the lay of the land. Then I'll set off on foot, because I had a certain amount of time. And I really wasn't sure how big the place was. I knew it was fairly sizable. And I came down one of the roadways, and let's do roadways. And it's skinny. I don't really think anything of it, and it then makes a 90-degree bend around the corner. So I've got my mother's minivan, which is long, and I had to keep getting out and looking to make sure that I was clearing the corners. And then once I got around, that little roadway just got narrower and narrower, to the point where I had to turn the mirrors in. I had to turn the mirrors in so I could get by the monuments. I could not get out of the car because I couldn't open the door to get out. And I'm thinking, and I can't back up. I can't back up and get out. The only way is forward. And I'm driving, and I don't pray, but let me tell you, I was praying. I'm like, just get me out of here. Just get me out of here. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't get a tow truck in there to get me out.
No, you can't.
What am I going to do? We're just going to leave it there and turn it into a mausoleum or something? I
mean, someone might want it.
All I could think of, I'm 50 at this point. At that time I was 52, 51, 52. Doesn't matter. I'm over 50, and I'm in the car going, my mother's going to kill me. My mother's going to kill me. I'm going to wreck her car in the cemetery. And as a footnote, that is not change. Right. All of a sudden, I'm 16 years old again, and I am in so much trouble.
I'm going to be grounded.
And as a footnote, it was not the first car I've lost at a cemetery. So,
like I said, not surprised. There are some really, really great pictures from last week too. I just want to show this one real quick. This was from Rose Hill Cemetery by me. Speaking of Jaws, this is Lester lovely. Stillwell. I love that Lester Stillwell, he was one of the victims of the shark attacks, and I love that people still come here over 100 years later, and they leave him toys and offerings.
Yeah. I love that the story stays alive, and that people, they make the pilgrimage to go find and then to leave mementos.
Yeah, and then up above on the hill, Stanley Fisher, who was the man who tried to save Lester, he's buried up there, and people leave little tokens that say you're a hero, your courage was never forgotten, pennies on his headstone. It's a really nice way to remember them. And one of the reasons that I like to go there is because I like to acknowledge them, because they're part of my ghost tour. So I like to just check in with them and tell them I'm trying to keep their memory alive, keep their story alive. So
Yeah.
you gotta pay your respects.
Absolutely. You know, and it's one of the things about gravestones is that it either tells directly because it's written on the face of the stone, or the story keeps staying alive by being perpetuated. That long after the person is gone, long after the newspapers that printed the story about what happened, the gravestone keeps that memory alive and keeps the story alive about those individuals.
Mm-hmm. Stephen P. Kitty Cat's a little wild tonight. He says, I had to clean a pastor out of the grill later, but I'm pretty sure I hit that somewhere else.
Always have a place to hide the bodies.
Always. That seems to be a theme this week.
Right? Some people were deserving this week.
We do have this magnificent, I have two more of yours that I wanted to show everybody because you have such great stories, but we only have 10 minutes. So,
okay, I'll shut my mouth.
This one, how cool is that? Right?
The ubiquitous, worldwide, everybody knows the yellow smiley face. This was Worcester. The guy, Harvey Ball, is the guy that designed the yellow smiley face. And I equate his story to the guy that invented the 3M sticky notes. It was being done. He worked for a big corporation here in the city, and they were doing a Worcester Pride, what makes Worcester great kind of, design competition. And this was his interpretation, and he got nothing for it, and somehow it got free and just populated all around the world. Everybody knows it, but not very many people actually know the man that created it.
That's just so, it's crazy because you don't think of it as being a person,
right,
that would have created that.
It's been around forever. Everybody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't think that it would take a lot to come up with a yellow smiley face with two eyes and a smile. And yet it didn't exist before. I don't remember what the date is. I want to say maybe the 1960s. I believe that. Right. I think that's when he created it.
And Dom says here, a gravestone is meant to remember all dates.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And Stephen P. Kitty Cat, father of the emoji.
Yeah, right. Right. That's totally true.
Absolutely. I have one more that I want to show everybody of your photos because it's just, well, I'll just let it speak for itself.
Oh, yes, my Ankh.
That is spectacular.
It is huge, too.
You can't really tell from the picture.
Yeah, it's probably 15 feet, maybe more.
Wow.
Because there's the band photo of the three Gravestone Girls is us on that monument, standing on the stairs. I'm 5 feet tall, so the Ankh itself is probably 10, because it's significantly taller than I am. And then you've probably got another 5 or 6 feet maybe worth of steps there. I don't know this guy. I don't know why it's an Ankh. I know there is a story that he was buried there and then removed because he didn't really want to be there, or I can't remember. Maybe the story goes that he was supposed to be buried there and he never was, but his name is on it, but there's nobody home. He does not eternally reside there. And that's another one of those monuments. I'll go by it a million times in all different daylight hours and seasons, and it looks different. It looks different every time. It's a beautiful backdrop. So
Karen's another wanted to be an Egyptologist. And her response here is, oh my.
Yeah, I wanted to be an Egyptologist. They sent me to business school. It worked for a little while. Yeah, it worked for a little while.
Yeah, that one is really powerful. I mean, it's such a well-recognized symbol, and
Yeah.
for it to be that large too.
I can't remember the death date. I want to say it's the 30s, so it's actually very close to post Egyptomania, Howard Carter, King Tut,
Yeah.
in the 1920s.
Yep.
And it's a very, it looks deco, but it also looks like it could be very modern because it's very, very streamlined. It's
Yeah, very
not
clean.
ornamental at all. It's just a large, powerful monument.
Yep. Natalie says it must be beautiful in the snow.
It is. It is.
Karen is.
Go ahead.
Karen's asking. So you have to see the pyramid at West Point. Have you been to the
I've
cemetery at West
never
Point?
been to West Point.
Oh,
it's on the list. One of my other Gravestone girls has been, and she documented and told me all about it, and it needs to be on the list. And you know what's really on the list is the trip to Egypt itself. The Sphinx is waiting for us.
Yes.
I need to kiss him.
Absolutely.
I need
right
to
on the
kiss
nose.
him.
Well, the non-nose.
Whatever, yeah, where the nose should be.
There was a really great article not too long ago. I can't remember which pharaoh it was, but it was a obelisk that they were trying to, like they found it, they unearthed it. It was in the process of being built.
Yeah, I saw that. They're still finding amazing things there. They're still finding outrageous things there.
Yeah. And then we had the Golden Parade not too long ago.
Yeah, after we talked about it last week, I went back and watched it again and again and again. It's just it's 4,000 years later, and we're still in awe and giving them all the pomp and circumstance that they
absolutely. For those of you guys watching, if you haven't seen the Golden Parade, it was I think it was the Cairo Museum. They moved mummies that had been there for a long time, relocated them to their new home, and they spent years planning this parade. There was, I mean, they spared no expense.
It doesn't even look real.
It doesn't.
It looks like some amazing simulation because of the grandeur of it, the scale of it, the way the visual is. It looks like CGI.
It does.
It's amazing.
They repaved the entire route to get from one place to the next, so there would be less jostling of the sarcophagi, and each vehicle had the name of the occupant.
Each one of the occupants.
It was just spectacular. The first time I saw it, I cried.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish I had watched it
and
live.
This is why we're friends. That's exactly why we're friends. Because you cried at the mummy parade, because I did too. I cry everywhere I go when I see that kind of stuff.
Yep. And the belly dancers and the out of my mind. Absolutely.
Probably exactly the way it would have been, a royal funeral at the time, with all of that and the people and the costume and the performers and very ritualistic and very much homage. Very respectful and elegant and beautiful.
Yep. I'm gonna post the link for all of you guys who didn't get to see it. I'll post it on the Creepy Parlor page.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're an Egypt nerd like me.
Like all of us. I have a collection of selfies of me with all of the sphinxes I find in the cemetery.
That's awesome.
Approaching them, yeah. So it's not just enough. It's not just enough because I never selfie. But you find me a sphinx, and I'm gonna be right there, sitting in his lap and giving him a kiss and taking our picture.
Yeah, Karen says, "Okay, I'll watch it again." I mean, they did such a great job, and it got me wanting to go back like I've been there. It's got me wanting to go all over again,
Right.
Definitely got me reinterested. But there's some stuff too that they were saying that was right at the time that the that ship was stuck in the canal.
Oh,
in the Suez Canal, and they were saying
right.
that was part of the mummy's curse. Did you hear all that stuff?
No, I did not hear that, but of course it makes sense. You disturb the dead pharaohs, and they're going to be pissed. So,
Yeah.
but then they saw their new digs, and they thought it was great.
Yes, and they had such a wonderful trip, I'm sure.
You did all of this for us. You're wonderful.
Well, we are just about out of time. So real quick, if you wouldn't mind telling everybody where they can find your fabulous art and where they can find you.
Absolutely. So the website is www.gravestonegirls.com, and we're on Facebook and Instagram at Gravestone Girls as well. I'm always posting about what we're doing, what's happening with other groups and education and travel and all things cemetery and gravestone. So keep an eye on all that stuff. I want to see my numbers up tomorrow.
And I can vouch for her. Her art is incredible.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun.
It always is. It always is. And I think it was really great. You told me that your husband said after we got off of cemetery streaming last week, he said it should be more than an hour.
Yes.
That's got to be some kind of compliment. It's got to be. It just has to be.
Well, after the first time you were on my show, I went downstairs and he went, looks like you have a new friend. So
2 peas in a pod. And then you add Jillian, and now we've got your mom. So we are now 4.
It's good stuff. Well, thank you for doing this, and thank you for doing this at such short notice. I apologize for that.
No, it's fine.
But
it was fun. It's always fun. Any opportunity I get to sit and talk about gravestones and sit and talk to you about them, no problem.
Awesome. Definitely check us out. I think the next one is what, July. First Wednesday in July, 7:30.
Yeah, that's it. First Wednesday in July.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to check us out on WLFE-DB.com, and also all the Psychomantium, Psychomantium 13, PBDC TV, all that fun stuff. There's great content everywhere for everybody. And don't forget to stay tuned, because Where's My Sage is next. So have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Creepy Parlor. Join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern for another fantastic show.